All right, hello everyone. How is everybody today? Hope you are doing wonderful today. We're winding down to the end of the week and hoping you are having a wonderful day today. I know we're getting started just a little bit late here today. We had a little technical difficulties, but we are back on track. So I'm going to pull up my chat here, see what you guys are up to. And let's see what's going on. All right, you guys, give me just another minute here. Looks like my chat's not loaded just yet, but hopefully we can get that up and running. And let's see. All right, you guys, well, my chat is still not quite up and running yet. Oh, there we go. All right. Hello. Now I can actually see you guys, see what you guys are chatting about here. See what's going on. All right. Guys, I am so excited for today's live stream. I get to play with glitter today, and any day that I get to play with glitter is a good day. And you can see I've got a whole stack of glitters over here that we're going to be working with. I'm going to be sculpting out a dimensional nail using a whole lot of these glitters. I may or may not use all of them, but I'm going to use a lot of them. Now I've got a couple of little accent nails here that I'm going to add into our set, but this isn't what we're going to be doing. We're going to be using all kinds of glitters today. So lots of fun that we're going to have. And oops, I just lost my chat there. Okay, now we're good. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on our nails. I'm actually going to be doing 2 of them for you today. When you work with gel, you do have to cure each of the layers of gel. So you want to make sure that each one is cured. So I'm going to be working on 2 nails. I've actually got 2 hands so that I can alternate one hand in the light while I'm working on the other for you. But I'm going to go ahead and prep the 2 nails together here, and then we will switch those up and use both of our trainer hands today. All right, so I am going to change out my sanding band. I did go through and push back the cuticles with my magic wand there. And you always want to make sure that you are pushing back the cuticles, even if it is on your trainer hand. Still get into the habit and kind of that routine of pushing the cuticles back. That way you don't forget to do that when you're working on a real person. And you also make sure that you are using a brand new sanding band every time. So this way your the grit on your sanding band is going to be just right, and it's not going to be worn down like this old one is, and it's also going to be clean and sanitary. So always make sure that you're using a nice, clean, brand new sanding band. Now I've got my e-file speed on about 5,000 RPMs. Just going to work right up around that cuticle area, and then we'll feather through the rest of that free edge, making sure that I've completely removed the shine. Now, when you're working with gels especially, you want to make sure that you are removing the shine. You do want to do that for really any enhancement, but especially gels, because gels do not like to stick to a smooth or shiny surface. So basically, we're removing the texture so that we don't have that smooth surface. We're breaking up those surface oils so that we don't have the oils on our nail plate. And we're also going to use our swipe, and we're going to cleanse the nail. So I'm going to pump a little bit of that onto my manicure brush. I'm going to use my brush to dust off that nail, get all of that dust off of there, get a really nice, clean, dry surface on our nail here. Now, you guys, like I said, I'm going to be working with 2 hands today because I am going to rotate one hand in the light while I'm working the other one. So we're going to put one nail on that other hand. We're going to cleanse that one. And we've cleansed our both nails here. Now, once we've cleansed the nail, we're going to go into our protein bond. Protein bond is our bonder, and this is going to work like a double-sided tape. So we're going to put 2 coats onto our nail, and like I said, it's going to work like a double-sided tape, so it's going to anchor down the product onto our nail really, really well. So it's going to basically stick to that natural nail and then leave a sticky surface for our product to grab onto. So again, going through first coat, and when I work with enhancements, whether it's acrylic or hard gel, I always like to do 2 coats of my protein bond to just make sure I've got really great adhesion all the way through both, all the way through with both of those layers of our product. All right, we got our second coat on there. We are ready to get into our gel application. So today I'm going to be sculpting, and you can see we're going to be doing some longer stilettos today. So I'm going to actually be using our extra long forms, and I absolutely love these forms. I think they are an amazing form, but you can use them whether you're working with longer nails, shorter nails, either one. You can use the extra long forms. You would just customize them a little bit. And what I mean by customize them is we're not going to be doing crazy extra long stilettos today. We're going to be doing kind of a neutral stiletto. So I'm actually just going to cut off the end of our form. So this way it's not going to be in my way or anything like that as I'm sculpting. So we're going to peel off that form from the back. I'm going to take that little tab out of the center, place that right into that back surface. Now I'm going to take my form, I'm going to kind of curl it over here. I'm going to pinch these two little tabs together right, let me come in, there we go, right here. These two tabs we're going to bring together nice and close, and you want to get those together as evenly as possible. So just take those together there. I'm going to pinch the end because like I said, we're going to be doing a stiletto nail today. So we're going to pinch the end of our form so we get that really nice tight C curve. I think I'm going to pinch this just a little bit shorter. I think we're going to do, yeah, I think that's going to be about the length. So we're going to work to maybe about the number 5 or 6, maybe even up to 7 on that form. We're going to get that form right up underneath that free edge, and I start at a slight downward angle, catch that natural nail, and then just lift up on our free edge until that form comes nice and straight out from that natural nail. And I'm going to pinch that together just a little bit more underneath. I'm going to take a look. I want to make sure that my form is nice and straight on the nail, and I think that's looking good. So let's go ahead and start our sculpting. Now, a couple of things I'm going to grab here. I am going to grab one of our little art palettes. I like to use my art palette to keep my brush clean if I need to. So I'm going to grab my brush as well. I'm going to open that up, and I like to use the brush or that art palette to just keep my brush clean, wipe any extra gel out of my brush if I need to. All right, so we've got our form on there. I'm going to be working with our clear Sculptor in the Precision Applicator tube. So this is actually a tube. We do have some gels in the pot, in the little jar there. We're going to be using a little bit combination of those. Okay, so we're going to start with our clear Sculptor. Clear Sculptor is a little bit of a thicker consistency, and we're going to just use this at this point to build out our free edge. So I'm going to squeeze a little bit of that gel right in front of my natural nail. I'm going to stop squeezing, and then I'm going to use the nozzle of that applicator to just move that product from one side all the way to the other, connecting that product to the natural nail. Now, if you need a little bit more, you can squeeze a little bit more, but right now, all we're trying to do is create a platform that's even with that natural nail. We're just building this product right up to that natural nail. So I'm just going to kind of float that product down the length of the form, squeeze out just a little bit more as needed. And again, I'm floating the nozzle over the surface of the gel. I'm not actually touching the form. By floating the nozzle over the product, this is going to move my product, and it's going to help to keep everything nice and smooth all through the surface of it. So again, just pulling that product down all the way to the point. And then I am going to grab my brush, and I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to take the edge of my brush here. So if I wipe out my brush, make sure everything's nice and clean, it's going to be kind of a flat surface there. I'm going to use the edge of my brush, and I'm going to wipe up that edge. So just pulling that edge all the way back, straight back up into the little edge right in there. Okay, I'm going to clean out my brush again. Same thing on the other side, use the edge of my brush. I'm going to pull that product back up the edge, and this is going to help to wipe off any extra product. Now notice that I didn't wipe that up onto the skin, so I didn't wipe it right back up into here. I actually kind of come around, so wiping backwards, and then when I get almost to that skin, I'll bring that product up onto that nail. So this way I'm not getting any product on the skin. I want to be very careful that I don't get product on the skin because we don't want to overexpose our client to any product. Okay, but now you can see I've got a really nice straight edge of my product all the way down each side. Once we've got that done, I'm going to get this into the light and I'm going to work on my second hand. Whoops, I'm going to drop a couple of things here. So I'm going to get this into the light. So you guys can see I've got one hand in the light and then I'm going to work on the second hand. So everything that we just did on that first hand is what we're going to do on our second hand. So we're going to take our form again, peel that off the backing, take that little tab out of the center, place that on the back of our form. Oops, this one I forgot to cut. That's okay. We'll use it a little bit longer here, or I'll cut it once it's on the nail. So again, we're going to pinch together that form, pinch it together at the free edge, right at that point. And this one we're going to pinch a little bit shorter, all the way back to about that 7, the number 7 on there. And I am going to trim off a little bit of that end, so that way my form isn't in my way as I'm working. Same thing, we're going to get that form right up underneath that free edge, catch that free edge, and then we're going to lift up on the edge of our form and just secure that right underneath that natural nail. Pinching our form together just a little bit more, making sure that is nice and straight out from that natural nail. And again, I think we're good. So while I'm working on this one, our other hand is curing in the light. I do want to cure that for a minimum of 30 seconds, just to make sure that my product is set into place. You can cure it for up to a minute. A minute, 60 seconds is the full cure for our gels. But as you're working, a lot of times what I like to do if I'm working on a full set is I'll work on one nail, maybe 2 nails at a time, and then get those into the light, and then work on the other hand and do 1 or 2 nails at a time. So this way my gel doesn't run where I don't want it to go. It's going to cure in the light without running, without moving, and it will be nice and easy. So as you're working with gels, if you do feel like they're moving too much for you, get the hand into the light and freeze that product into place, or you can fully cure it for that full 60 seconds. But I'm doing the same thing as I did on the other hand. Got my gel onto my form. I'm using my brush to straighten out those sides, clean up those edges, make sure that my lower arch is nice and straight. And then we'll take our first hand out, bring that back. We'll get our second hand into the light to freeze that into place, again for a minimum of 60 seconds. Now, at this point, we're going to use our base gel. So base gel is what's going to have the best bond to the natural nail. Even though we did put that protein bond on the natural nail, base gel is designed to have the most resins that bond to the nail. So we always want to start with a nice thin layer of our base. So we're going to take just a little scoop of the base. Now this one, I am going to use some pressure with my brush. Now when I was using the tube, I was kind of floating the product a little bit more, but when we're working with the base gel, this I really do want to press down into that natural nail. I want to really work that base into our natural nail so it really can grab into all the little nooks and crannies of that natural nail. So just brushing that through, giving a little bit of pressure with my brush, and then I'm actually going to pick up just a little bit more. So just pick up a little bit more of that gel, and I like to run that right along the seam. So right where that natural nail meets our extension, and then I can just kind of feather that out. But what that's going to do is that's going to really secure that natural nail to the extension that we built out. And it's also going to smooth out and make sure that I don't have a ledge between the two. Okay? All right, same thing, we'll grab our second hand, pop our first hand into the light. We'll do our base coat or a base gel on our second nail here. Same thing, pressing that brush down, working that product down into that natural nail. You can even kind of wiggle or kind of scrub your brush into that nail. That's really going to help to work that product down into, like I said, the little nooks and crannies of that natural nail. And even up by that cuticle area. Sometimes I like to give my brush a little bit of a press down, wiggle it up to that cuticle area so that I get really nice and close without touching that cuticle. Okay. Another, just a tiny little bit more, and again, right through the connection, right where that natural nail meets up to our free edge, meets up to our extension that we built. All right, same thing. You guys, if you're just joining us, I am working on two hands. So I'm working on one while the other is going to be curing in the light. So nice and easy, just kind of rotating in between the two hands. Let's go ahead and remove our form, because at this point I don't need that form on there. And I'm going to grab a nipper. Now you guys, I'm going to use one of my older nippers. I'm not going to use a brand new sharp one that I would use for my cuticles. I'd like to use a nipper or even a straight edge toenail clipper if you have one of those, to clean up the edges. So any of that gel that may be hanging too low or anything like that, you can use that straight edge to clip those edges. So this way, when you go to do your filing, you're going to have a nice straight edge and you're not going to have as much filing to do. Okay. All right. I'm going to grab our gel polishes. Now I told you guys that we're going to be working with a lot of our glitters, but we're also going to be working with some of our gel polishes, and we're going to be creating a mixed metal design today. So we've got Silver 101, which is, again, nice, just beautiful, kind of a chrome looking shimmer. We've got Gold 102, and you guys, these are our manicure colors. So these are our gel polish collection. We've got Champagne. I love Champagne. It's a little bit of a softer color. And then we've also got Rose Quartz. So we're going to be using all of these different colors on our nail here. So we're going to take that nail that we've already sculpted out, and I'm going to just take a little bit of each color. So take a little bit of that, maybe right up by the cuticle area, just kind of feather it in through the nail. Just doing some random applications here of each color. So let's grab that Rose Quartz, and maybe a little bit of that right up by the cuticle. Now, as I'm working, I'm not being too concerned that this brush is touching the polish that's on the nail already, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that brush and I'm going to actually wipe that brush onto my art tile here to clean that out. So if I did get any of that other color on there, I'm going to clean that out and not have to worry about that. So I don't want to be contaminating the bottle that I've got. I don't want to be getting other colors in there. So I do make sure to just give it a quick wipe out on my tile there. All right, let's grab our gold. And I think the gold is really going to give us a nice highlight in a few areas here. All right, I think I like that. And you guys, if you were joining us yesterday on our live stream, you'll notice that I'm using a similar technique. Yesterday we were just using our traditional polishes. Today we're using our gel polishes. So a lot of different options that you can do to create your designs. Now I'm going to grab one of my brushes, and you guys, this has really become one of my favorite brushes. It's technically a liner brush, but it's kind of used and abused, and it doesn't actually come back to a nice point anymore. I've tried, soaking it in water and all of those different things to try to get it to come back to its shape, but it just doesn't. But I actually really like using this for blending these colors. So I'm just going to kind of tap around, kind of blending the colors together and creating our background color. Now let's get this one into the light. I'm going to grab our second hand while this one goes into the light. So that first hand is going to cure. We're going to take our second hand. We'll do our same thing that we just did. We'll take our form off. And again, I'm going to grab my nippers. So if I need to clean up any edges, anything that may be hanging off the sides, I can clean those up. And actually, I think our edges are pretty nice and straight on this one. So same thing, we're going to take a few of our different colors and just kind of dab a little bit on here and there, wherever you want to. Grab a little bit of that silver. Tap in between those colors. Again, wipe out your brush on your art tiles so that you don't contaminate your bottle of color. Adding a little bit of that rose quartz. I always forget, rose quartz. Clean out my brush. And then maybe just a little bit of champagne. So when you guys are doing your designs and creating this mixed metal look, you can use whatever colors you want to use. So if you don't want, maybe you just want the silver and gold, maybe you don't want the rose gold, that is totally fine. You can create whatever color combinations you want to. I just really like the mixed metals because it adds so many different colors, and for whatever skin tone you have, this color or this combination is going to work great. So adding in all your different colors that you want to, whatever you want to create is up to you. But again, just kind of tapping that gel polish around, and I think that's going to look good. Now again, if you did get a little bit of that gel polish on the skin or anything like that, do make sure to clean that up with your orange wood stick before you go into the light to cure. Okay? All right, so that one's going to come out of the light. This one's going to go into the light. We're rotating back and forth. Now at this point, I'm going to put my gel polishes off to the side, and we're going to use our glitters. Now you guys, I've got a ton of glitters here, so I'm going to just really quick read off the names of them, and then we'll get into it. So we've got Burner Phone, which is our chunkier kind of a copper color. We've also got Artist Table, which is a holographic gold, a little bit chunkier also. We've got Six Figure Fox, which this is actually already a mixed metal combination. So it's got a little bit of that champagne, a little bit of that silver, a little bit of that gold. So that's actually a great one to start with. So if you're not wanting to use all of the different colors, that would be a great one to start with. We've also got Lucky Number 13, which is a silver holographic. I absolutely love this one because this one has so many different colors that it reflects. You guys can see on camera there, so many different beautiful colors. We also have a really chunky one called Stellar Silver. So those two are very similar, just different sizes. So when I am doing a mixed metal design like this, I like to choose different colors, different cuts, because that's going to give us more dimension to our nail. So this one is Battle Snakes. So again, you're going to see that I've got similar colors and different cuts. So again, it's going to just add more dimension to our nails. Now, am I going to use all of these colors? I don't know. I'm going to see how I do as I'm applying. Next one is Bygones. Now this is actually a really fine glitter. So that's a really fine gold. And then we've got another one called TV Dinner, which is a little bit more of a yellow gold. Still a little bit more on the finer side. And Chess Tournament, which is another finer, kind of in between those two colors, but another fine glitter. And 10x dollar sign, or 10, I think it's 10 times dollar sign. Kind of that champagne-y kind of a look. And then we also have Hope Scream City. And you guys, this one I really love because it is more of a rectangular glitter. So those really tiny slithers of glitter. I love that. Again, it just changes everything up. And then we also have Fortune. And you guys, this one is a gold holographic. You can't really see the hologram on camera there too well, but it is the kind of that kind of multicolored. And then we also have Hologram, which is a hologram. That one you can really see in there. So that's a silver hologram color. Now, I have all of these different colors. How am I going to get these onto this one little nail? Well, I'm going to show you. We're going to start with that same base gel that we started on the natural nail with. I'm going to take a little bit of that, kind of a little scoop with my brush here. Now, on our first application of the base, we really pressed that, that gel down onto the nail. This time we're not going to press it so much. We're going to almost float it, but not float it. We're just going to very gently brush that on there. And what this is going to do, this is going to create a sticky surface for our glitter to adhere to. So we want enough of that gel on there to where it's going to grab onto the glitter, but not so much to where it's going to run, okay? Now at this point, I'm going to kind of show you the glitters that I'm going to be using here as well. So I'm just going to take a little bit of each glitter, and again, I'm using that brush that is a little bit frayed out. I'm actually going to clean this off real quick here. I just want to wipe that out. So I'm going to just use that frayed out brush to pick up a little bit of whatever glitters I want to use. And I'm just going to set those onto that wet gel and just start to create whatever it is that I want to create. Okay, and as I'm working, you guys notice that I'm kind of tilting the nail a little bit here and there as I work and as I apply those glitters, because this way, when I tilt the nail like that, it shows me where I'm getting light reflection. So where those glitters are reflecting. So this way I can see maybe where I want to put a little bit more glitter, or maybe if I don't want so much glitter, I can take that off. So it just helps to kind of tilt that nail as you're working so that you can see exactly where you're putting those different colors. So just picking up a few of maybe those chunkier silver glitters, adding those in, and just placing them wherever you feel like you want that color. Let's take a little bit of that softer gold, that smaller cut glitter. Again, keep tilting that nail as you work, as you're adding in your colors so that you can see where that is going to reflect. Take a little bit of that, kind of that brown, a little bit more of that copper color, and right around there, and just dabbing that into that, that wet gel. So this way, that wet gel is going to just grab right onto our glitter. All right, I think I need just a little bit of something right down at the end. So maybe a little bit of those copper colors right down at that end. All right, you guys, what are you thinking so far? Are you liking the combination? Let me know in the chat. Throw some little hearts in the chat if you're liking the combination, or if you think maybe it needs a little bit more glitter. Let me know. What do you guys think? I would love to hear. Somebody says that's really pointy. Yes, you guys, today I'm doing a stiletto nail. A lot of times we do a little bit more active length here on our channel, but today we are creating a really fun stiletto. We're going to be creating some nails that are going to look about this shape down here. So, all right, I think I'm liking that. I think I like how that's all looking. So we're going to get this one into the light, switch that out with our second one. So on the second one here, we've already put that polish on. So we used a couple of different colors of our gel polish. I'm going to take a little bit more of that base gel, take a little scoop of that base gel, and we're going to do the same thing that we just did on our first nail. Brushing through to just coat that nail, kind of seal in that gel polish, and give us a nice tacky surface for our glitters to adhere to. So let's grab maybe a little bit of that kind of mix right in there. Oh, I love that one. That one is so pretty. And maybe a little bit of, oh, you guys, too many different colors. All right, really never too many different colors. But let's add in a few of those copper colors right in there, those bigger, chunkier glitters. Just setting those down into our wet gel. And again, just kind of tilting the nail as I work to see where that light is reflecting so that I know where I need to add more glitter. And maybe a little bit of chunkies right up in there. And you guys, there's really no rhyme or reason. I mean, there is maybe a little rhyme or reason, but you can add whatever colors you want to add. You can create whatever kind of patterns you want to create. Maybe a little bit of those medium sizes. But again, having those different sizes of your glitters is going to really add texture. It's going to add dimension. It's going to add a lot of color and light reflection. So don't be afraid to use different colors, different textures, and just create your beautiful designs. I think we'll add just a little bit of that fortune right up on top here for a little bit more of that holographic look. And you guys, I'm really just loving these kind of these rectangular shaped ones. I think they're just so much fun. They just add so much sparkle. And what do you guys think? Is that enough glitter on this one? Is there a thing as enough glitter? Is there too much glitter? Let me know. Let me know. And you guys, make sure that if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, join our community, get free education that we're giving, and just have some fun with us. So, okay, I think maybe this is enough. Think so? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe just a little bit more right down here. I always have to add one last little bit right on there. Okay, so we've got our glitters in that one. we are going to get this one into the light. We're going to take our second one back out of the light because we do want to make sure that these are curing. So this layer is now set. That glitter is set into place. It's not moving. It's not going to go anywhere. Now, if you feel like maybe you need a little bit more glitter, maybe you need something in a different area, or you just want to add another layer, you can add another coat of that base gel. Again, just lightly brushing through, not quite floating, but just enough to leave a nice thin layer on there. And again, if you need to, you can add a little bit more wherever you need to. And you guys, this is where we kind of get the word dimensional for our nails, is because we're actually putting in different layers. So you're going to see some of that glitter deeper into the nail, and you're going to see some of the other glitters more on the surface of the nail. And we're actually going to be adding something over the completed nail. So over a filed nail, we're going to add even a little bit more on top of that to really create even more depth, even more dimension to this. So again, just adding wherever you want to add any last little add-on colors. And maybe just, I think, a little bit of that hologram right up top there. All right, so we're going to cure this one more time. We'll take our, I think this was our first nail here. So that one that was in the light, that one is also cured out as well. We can add in a second layer on top of this one if we want to. Again, creating that depth, creating layers of our gel, creating layers of our glitter. So that way we can see those layers that are deeper down into that nail, and then layers that are more on the surface. So again, whatever colors you want to add in, you can add in. Overlap colors, again, it's just going to create more texture, more depth, more dimension. So layering some glitter on top of a glitter, you're going to get just a beautiful, beautiful look. Let's add in a few of those bigger, chunkier ones, I think, right up in through there. Maybe one more right down there, and maybe a couple of those more coppery looking ones. Little copper pennies right in there. Yeah, I think I like that. All right, same thing, we're going to pop this back into the light. Take our first hand out, or our second hand, whichever one we're at this point. I can't keep track. But we got two nails that we're working on here. All right, so this one I think we're good. But at this point, if we take a look at the nail from the side, this still doesn't have a lot of structure to it. We need to build in our structure so that this nail is going to have support. And then also when we go to file, we don't want to be filing off our glitter. So we need to use our, actually, you guys, I'm not going to use our clear sculptor. The clear sculptor is what I used to build out our extension. I'm actually going to be using our Build Pink. Now, I'm going to show you this really quick before I do the application. Build Pink is a beautiful color to work with when you're doing your dimensions and working with glitter. Now, you're probably thinking, why is she going to use pink over the top of this? It's not really pink. If you can see really closely, it's just got a tint of pink to it. And what that tint of pink does is it really just magnifies those glitters that are on the nail. So by using the Build Pink, it's really going to just make our glitters pop. So I'm going to squeeze out a little bit of that Build Pink right up at our cuticle area. I'm going to work in a counterclockwise, I had to stop and think, a counterclockwise circular motion to bring that product up into that left side, a clockwise circular motion to bring that product up into the right. Now I do have the nail angled downward. If you see from the side view, I've got that nail angled downward, so this way my gel isn't going to run back into that cuticle area. It's not going to flow down into the sidewalls. It is going to flow down the length of the nail, which is exactly what I want. Now if I need a little bit more product, I'll squeeze a little bit more in the center, and then I'm just using the nozzle to float over the surface. I'm not using any pressure. I'm not actually touching the surface of the nail itself. I'm just, you kind of see how it's got a little tail here that I'm pulling. Just pulling that little tail to guide that product into place where I want it. Now I can come back with my brush. I'm going to clean out my brush here real quick, wipe that out. If I need to, I can use my brush to just touch up those edges, move any product where I needed to move it. If I need to build up a little bit more bulk, I can do that. If I need to push a little bit more product up towards my cuticle area, I can do that as well. So just bringing that product wherever you need it. Now, this one is going to go back into the light, but before I do that, just really quickly, I'm going to hit this with my touch cure light. And then you guys, if you haven't seen our touch cure light, I'm going to show you here in just a second. But what I'm doing at this point is just freezing our gel into place so it doesn't move, okay? I want to make sure that it's not running or moving before I get a chance to get that into the light. So I'm going to now get this into the light because it's had a chance to just kind of solidify. So I'm going to get that one into our light. We're going to cure that for maybe another 30 seconds. So let me show you guys just really quick. This is our touch cure light. It's just a little pen light. You push the button and the curing light comes on at the end. So this way you can use that to just freeze your product into place before you get that into the light. So maybe your client doesn't maybe bump it on the way into the light or anything like that. So it's just a way of freezing the product. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to squeeze out a little bit of that gel right at our cuticle area. And you guys, look at how much that's reflecting the light on there. Look at that reflection. So again, counterclockwise to move the product to the left, clockwise to move that product into the cuticle on the right, and then we'll squeeze out a little bit more in the center and just kind of working from side to side, pulling that little string of gel from one side to the other, just encapsulating that whole entire nail. And we want to make sure that we've got enough gel over this because we are going to do a little bit of filing at the end to shape this nail up. So we want to make sure that we're really encapsulating all of that glitter so that we don't end up filing that off at the end. Okay. All right. Same thing. I'm going to grab my brush. If I need to, I can use that brush, tuck up around the cuticle areas, making sure that I've got product everywhere I need it, making sure it's not running down the edges. And you guys, keep in mind the temperature of your work environment. If your environment is a little bit warmer, your product is going to flow a little bit faster. So just kind of keep that in mind so that if you do need to use this touch cure light to freeze the gel into place, you can have that handy and ready to go to just kind of stop that gel from moving. Okay, somebody says that's way too much. You know what? We are going to be doing some filing, and it probably looks like it's too much because we've got all of those different layers on there and we haven't actually filed it yet. But I promise you, we've got the proper structure in there. But actually, I'm going to add a little bit more product right through here because when you start looking at that nail from the side, this is the structure that we want to create on this nail here. Right now, our nail is actually pretty flat right through that stress area and right through that free edge. If I were to just leave this nail as it is and then maybe file it or shape it or anything, it's actually going to break. It's going to break right through the stress area here because that length of that nail is not going to be supported structurally right through here. So I do want to take a little bit more of that Build Pink. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of that right down the center. Actually, let me bring a little bit more of that down. So we're going to squeeze a little bit of that right down the center to build up that structure so that we have a little bit more of an arch to our nail. And I will show you guys that here in just a second. But I'm just kind of blending that product out to the edges. There we go. So now we've filled in that structure. So now we're going to have a little bit more strength to our nail after we do file it. Okay. I'm going to switch those two nails back out again, pop that one into the light. Now at this point, I am going to make sure that I fully cure that first nail, okay? I'm going to fully cure that for a full 60 seconds, so that way it's going to be completely cured all the way through. I'm going to do the same thing on this one here. We're going to add a little bit more product right through that stress area. But at this point, we do want to make sure that we are fully curing the product so it is cured all the way through, all the way down to that base layer, and that's going to take 60 seconds. So this is another reason that I like to work on, two different hands, because one hand I'm working on while the other's curing, and I'm not going to waste any time. So again, I'm going to hit this with our Touch Cure Light, freeze that gel into place that I just added on there, and then we'll swap this one out for the one that's in the light, and we'll finish curing this one for a full 60 seconds. All right, you guys, let me know in the chat, are you loving this design? Are you loving the mixed metals colors? Which is your favorite? Let me know. All right, so that first one is set. We'll get our second nail in there to fully cure all the way through. All right, now you guys, at this point, the nail is fully cured out, but before we do any filing, I'm gonna need to cleanse this. Because the gel cures with a tacky finish to it, I need to come back to use my swipe, and we'll use our swipe to cleanse off that tacky finish, okay? Now, I'm not actually going to file these nails out because I've done a couple of nails earlier and I already have those filed out, and I want to show you one other add-on to this design. So I didn't want to take the time to do all of the filing for this design. But you guys, if you need to see how to file the nails, we have a ton of videos here on our YouTube channel for you to watch and see how we would file these out. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and go ahead and watch all of those videos on how to file. So I'm going to move all of my glitters out of the way, and I'm going to actually swap out. So basically, you guys, the same exact process that I went through. I created these two other nails for you, and we're going to swap these out. I think I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to put that solid color on the pointer. We're going to put our filed out nails on our center two here. So this way, we're going to have a nice full set, okay? Now, I've filed these nails. I used my electric file, and then I filed with my 150 grit hand file. So again, same thing that I just showed you guys here, and I now have filed out. I'm going to use a little bit of our swipe, pump that onto my brush. We're going to brush these through, cleanse those nails really well, making sure that, that we get all of that dust off of there. And yes, Amy JT says, and with the power of the internet, yes, I love saying that. With the power of the internet, we've swapped these nails out for some beautifully filed ones. So if you guys, like I said, if you need to see how to file those, we've got some great videos on that as well. All right, next thing we're going to use is one more coat of our protein bond. Protein bond is going to help our next layer adhere really well. Now, you guys, you could go in right to your top coat if you want to just finish these nails at this point. Adding that protein bond, that's going to give you a little bit of an idea of what the nail's going to look like. But you guys, let me know. Let me know in the chat. Do you want to add on one more layer of metallic something or other? Let me know in the chat. I need to know if you guys want to see something else or if you just want to top coat these as they are. So those are your options. So you gotta let me know in the chat. Whoops, I gotta make sure that I can see my chat here. All right, I can see my chat. So let me know, do you want me to add in a little bit more sparkle, a little bit more metallic, or should I just top coat them? Now, if you need a little bit of a teaser, I'll show you what I was gonna add into them. So these are our, let me come back out here. This is our foil jewel collection. And you guys, I took them, I had to break down. I finally tore the box that I had those stored in, and I did put them into a little bit our other storage containers. So this is our jewel foil collection, and I think I wanted to add a little bit of the gold. Now, if I can actually get these back out of here, I want to add a little bit of gold or maybe silver or bronze. But you guys, let me know. Yeah, you want to add a little bit more sparkle, a little more sparkle, maybe a little silver. Foils, yeah. Or do we want to add a little bit of blue, a little bit? No, okay, we're gonna stick with the metallics. Yes, that's enough. All right, you guys, I'm seeing a lot more yeses, add more versus the no, that's enough. So we're gonna go ahead and add some more fun onto these. Now I'm gonna take my art tile again, and I have a nice clean one here. I'm going to take a little bit of those foils, and actually let me grab my tweezer here. When I'm working with the foils, I do like to work with my tweezer. I feel like it's going to help make things a lot easier. So I'm just going to pull a few little pieces of each color, set that onto my art tile. And you guys, these are very, I don't want to say delicate because delicate's not the right word, but they're very light. So if you're working in a drafty area, they're probably going to get blown around. So make sure that you're not sneezing or anything, or make sure your fan is turned off or turned away so that it's not going to blow these away. But I'm going to take those little pieces and just kind of pull them apart a little bit. And you can use them in bigger, chunkier sections, or let me come in a little bit closer there for you. Or you can pull them apart and use smaller pieces, whatever you want your design to look like. But I do like to kind of pull those apart just a little bit. And all right, I think we're good there. We'll see how we add those in. All right, so we've got our nails. They are protein bonded. I'm going to go in with, oops, where did I lose that here? I'm going to go in with 1 coat of our manicure base. Now, the reason that I'm going to put base on is I like the stickiness of the base. You could use the manicure top, you could use the conversion gels, you could really use whatever polish you have that has a tacky surface to it, you could use that. So when it cures, you want it to have a tacky surface. I could use the manicure top. I like the manicure top because it's a little bit thinner, but I feel like the base grabs on a little bit better to my pieces of foil. So that's why I'm going in with the base, okay? We're gonna just cure this one time really quick for maybe a quick 30 seconds in the light. And what's gonna happen is that's going to create a tacky surface. So I'm gonna go through, I think I'm gonna break these up just a little bit more. I think those are still a little bit too big. So we're gonna basically stick these little pieces of foil into that tacky surface of our base coat. Now, the reason that I love using these, you could use these in the nail just like we did with all of the glitters, but the reason that I like to use these over the base is because it gives it a little bit more depth, okay? So what's gonna happen is, where's my brush here? I've gotta find my brush. All right, so again, you guys, you know my little frayed out brush here. I like to just pick that up and just set those right down onto that sticky surface, okay? So wherever you want to add that in, I think that was a little too big, you can add those pieces right down into that tacky surface. And again, this is going to just add one more layer over the top, and it's going to give us a lot more depth. So I'm going to grab a few more of these pieces. You can add as much or as little as you want. Just creating, and it almost looks like these pieces are going to be floating on the surface. Okay, now let's go ahead and add those to our second nail here, setting those down in there. And I think just a little bit more. What are you guys thinking? Was this a good choice? Is that a good choice to add those over the top? I think they are. I think they're a good choice. But again, you guys, you can create the nails that you want. You can create your own designs like this. Add in extra colors if you want to add in extra colors, however you want to create. Now, I am going to use our stamping tool. And I know this sounds kind of strange that we're going to be using a stamping tool, but I like to use the stamping tool. I'm just going to clean that off real quick. I like to use the stamping tool to press those pieces of foil down. So this way I know that they're nice and flat down onto that nail. They're not going to be poking up, and I'm not going to feel the texture of them once I top coat. Okay, so that's why I like to use that stamping tool. I just kind of roll across, so now you can see that those pieces of foil are nice and flush down onto that nail. Now, one last thing I'm going to do before I do my top coat is I'm going to use that touch cure light. And you could put the hand into the full UV LED light if you want to, or just hit it really quick for maybe, I don't know, 10 to 20 seconds or so, maybe 5 to 10 seconds even, over the surface of this. What this is going to do is this is going to cure and hold on to those pieces of foil. It's going to cure them into that tacky surface. So just another quick little technique to make sure that your color stays where you want it. Now, depending on what you are using to top coat, if you're going to use the manicure top coat to top coat these, you would want to do 2 coats of the top coat, because that's going to seal in that foil a little bit sturdier. And if you are using the ultimate finish, you can use just 1 coat of that. Now, the reason that I say that is because, again, The manicure top coat is a little bit thinner, so to get that nice smooth finish, you're going to need 2 coats of that to really seal that in. I like to use the Ultimate Finish. You guys, you know that if you've been here for a while, you know I love the Ultimate Finish. And the Ultimate Finish is a little bit of a thicker texture, a little thicker viscosity, so that will actually seal in those pieces of foil without feeling any texture, with just 1 coat, okay? And after 1 coat, we're going to cure this fully in the light for a full 60 seconds. When it does come out of the light, it's not going to have any tacky finish to it. It's going to be a tack-free finish. So nice and fast, nice and easy. And oh my gosh, you guys, I know you can see the sparkle on camera here, but it is not as sparkly as these are in person. So I want to make sure to cure these for about 30 seconds or so. I'm actually going to just do a quick cure on these, just a quick freeze on them, so that way I can show you guys the final look and you can see exactly what they are, what they're going to look like. So I think there was a question on how long do you cure. So before I did my foils, I put a coat of my manicure base down and I cured that for about 30 seconds. So that only needs about 30 seconds. You could cure it for a full minute if you were working on a full hand, but 30 seconds, apply your foil, and then I did hit it again with that touch cure light for maybe 20, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 seconds, just enough to freeze that into place. And then we did our top coat, and we finished our nails with our Ultimate Finish top coat, making sure to cure that for a full 60 seconds. And you've got your beautiful metallic mixed metals design. And you guys, I totally forgot to have you guys do the top coat chant. So if you haven't already, I see a couple of people did, go ahead and do the top coat chant in the chat. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to join us on our next live stream. And make sure to have a wonderful day. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. You know what, I'm going to turn these around. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a better view of some of those glitters and give you guys a little bit more time to type into the chat and get that top coat in there. All right, there we go. So we have got our beautiful mixed metals design here. Let me get that nice and tight. There we go. All right, so our beautiful mixed metals. You guys, thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, join our community, get our free education, and have lots of fun with us. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I will see you guys back next time.